Hello and welcome. You're watching Infofeed. On October 2021, Mark Zuckerberg did something unprecedented. He took one of the most recognizable brand names in human history, that is Facebook, and erased it. He renamed his trillion-dollar empire Meta. He told the world that the era of smartphone was over. He promised us a digital utopia called the Metaverse, a place where a billion people would work, play, and live inside virtual reality headsets. Today, the digital utopia is officially a digital graveyard, and it is the most expensive graveyard ever built. Over the last 5 years, Meta's Reality Labs division has burned through nearly $80 billion. And what do they have to show for it? A virtual reality app that nobody uses, avatars that barely have legs, and a workforce that is currently being decimated. This month, Meta confirmed it's cutting over 1,500 jobs in its Reality Labs division. Entire virtual reality game studios have been shut down. And worse, leaks from inside Silicon Valley revealed that Mark Zuckerberg is now preparing an even more brutal purge, a massive 20% workforce reduction across the entire company. Over 15,000 people could be fired in the coming weeks. Today, we look at the great tech bait and switch of 2026. We ask, how does a CEO vaporize $80 billion on a failed vanity project and keep his job, while thousands of his employees lose theirs? And why is big tech suddenly firing the people who built the metaverse, only to hand billions to the people building artificial intelligence? Let's look at the product that caused this disaster. Horizon Worlds. This was supposed to be the flagship application of the metaverse. Meta internally projected they would have 500,000 active users by the end of its first year. They didn't even hit half that number. People bought the expensive VR headsets, tried them once, got motion sickness, and put them in the closet. The losses are staggering. In 2025 alone, the Reality Labs division lost $19.1 billion. Let me put that in perspective. Meta lost more money on virtual reality in 1 year than the entire gross domestic product of many developing nations. So, what happens when a CEO's dream crashes into consumer reality? The workers pay the price. In January 2026, Meta's Chief Technology Officer, Andrew Bosworth, called a mandatory in-person meeting. He announced the culling of 1,500 jobs, roughly 10% of the Reality Labs division. They shut down 3 in-house VR gaming studios. And then came the ultimate insult. Last week, Meta announced they were pulling Horizon Worlds from the Quest VR headset store. They are effectively abandoning the VR version of the metaverse to focus on mobile phones. Think about the absolute irony of that. Mark Zuckerberg changed his company's name to build a VR world, spent $80 billion, and is now putting that world back onto the very smartphones he said were obsolete. But the Reality Labs layoffs are just the appetizer. The main course is coming, and it is entirely driven by a new obsession. The metaverse is dead. The new buzzword is artificial intelligence. Meta has realized it is falling behind OpenAI and Google, so they have initiated a panic pivot. Reports from Reuters this week indicate that Meta is preparing to cut up to 20% of its total workforce. That is nearly 16,000 jobs. And why are they firing 16,000 people? To buy graphics chips. Meta has committed to spending up to $135 billion on capital expenditures this year alone, and $600 billion by 2028, to build massive AI data centers. To offset this unimaginable cost, they are treating their human workforce like an ATM. And listen to how they justify it. Mark Zuckerberg recently told investors that he is seeing projects that used to require big teams now are being accomplished by a single, very talented person that is using AI. This is the new corporate playbook for Silicon Valley. You hire thousands of people to build a hype cycle. When the hype cycle fails, you fire them. Then you tell Wall Street that you fired them, not because you made a mistake, but because artificial intelligence has made you more efficient. It's a brilliant, ruthless sleight of hand. You cover up a massive management failure by pretending it is a technological evolution. How does the financial world react to a company losing $80 billion and firing thousands of people? They applaud. On the day rumors of the 20% workforce cut broke, Meta's stock price actually climbed. Wall Street loves a layoff. They view human beings as operational bloat. When a tech giant announced it's firing 15,000 fathers, mothers, and young professionals, the hedge funds celebrate the cost discipline. Let's look at the hypocrisy of this ecosystem. If a CEO of a traditional manufacturing company in India or Japan or Germany lost $80 billion on a product that he completely failed, they would be fired by the board of directors by the end of the week. But Mark Zuckerberg cannot be fired. He structured Meta so that he holds the absolute voting control. He is a corporate monarch. He can afford to be wrong to the tune of $80 billion because the consequences of his mistakes are entirely borne by the people below him. The engineers who worked 80-hour weeks to build the headsets are updating their LinkedIn profiles with hashtag open to work, while the man who ordered them to build it is buying more data centers. The year of efficiency. That was what Meta called their mass layoffs back in 2023. Now in 2026, it seems every year is the year of efficiency. The collapse of Meta's Reality Labs is not just a story about a bad tech product. It is a story about the absolute unaccountability of Western tech monopolies. They operate with budgets larger than sovereign nations, but with none of the social responsibility. They view their workforce not as a foundation of their company, but as a disposable hardware. Where the metaverse was the trend, they hoarded talent. Now that AI is the trend, they're throwing the talent away. The tech industry wants us to believe they are building the future. But look at the foundation they are building it on. A foundation of broken promises, shuttered studios, and discarded employees. Mark Zuckerberg changed his company's name to Meta to escape the scandals of Facebook. But a new coat of paint cannot hide the reality of how a company treats its people. The metaverse is dead, but the callousness of Silicon Valley is very much alive. Facts inform, but stories transform.